Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who has a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, I have an energetic, tenacious, fighter for democracy as my special guest. And I want to introduce you to her. I met her just a couple of days ago by phone and was so impressed with her. And her name is Dr. Kimberly Hardy. I'm going to bring her up stage right now. Dr. Kimberly Hardy was elected second vice chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party in 2023. She also serves as the second vice president for Democratic Women of North Carolina and was president of the Democratic Women of Cumberland County. Dr. Hardy is also a former candidate for the North Carolina House of Representatives for District 43. In addition to her work with the North Carolina Democratic Party, Dr. Hardy is a former school social worker who now serves as an associate professor at Fayetteville State University School of Social Work, where she teaches and focuses her research on the intersection of social work, public health, and religion, spirituality. Dr. Hardy earned her PhD and BSW degrees from Morgan State University, a very fine HBCU, and her MSW from the Ohio State University. Welcome to the show, Dr. Hardy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am so glad for you to be here as well. Listen, we're going to get right into it. So you, my friend, are going into a tough race, okay, against a 10-year incumbent who is, in effect, a Trump mouthpiece and a Jesse Helms 2.0 wannabe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who, by the way, Jesse Helms served in the U.S. Senate for the state of North Carolina for 30 long years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so listen, now that we know for a fact that David Rouser studied at his feet because he worked for him in Congress as an aide or whatever. And so what is your platform to encourage North Carolinians in your District 7 to vote for you?
So basically it centers on one particular phrase, which is "we deserve better." When I was trying to figure out, like, am I really going to do this or not? Because like you said, it's a big thing. It's not even just a big thing because he's an incumbent. When I ran for a state house a bunch of years ago, there was an incumbent there. He had been there for 6 terms or 12 years. And I beat him then. And it's not a brag. It's just to say that, I mean, every fight's going to be a fight, whether it's an incumbent, internally in a primary or whatever. But it's also a big deal because this is a congressional seat. And so congressional seats take a lot of money and they take a lot of time and stuff like that. So it's a big fight. So I was really sitting with myself like, are you really getting ready to run for Congress right now? And I said, yeah, because you know what? We deserve better than this. Yeah. And so I don't expect better from Donald Trump. I don't, but I do expect our congressmen and our congresswomen to do their actual job, which is to hold the executive branch in check and to stand up against things like, I don't know, tyranny and fascism. And so, he's those little things, and so he's just not doing it. And the people in the district have noticed that for a long time. And they have been waiting for someone to come and run like a really substantive race. And to be fair, we have had 2 really great candidates in the last 2 election cycles. But I think it's a confluence of things right now that people who maybe did vote for Trump, who are saying, I didn't vote for all of this. I think those folks are having misgivings. I think people who chose the couch instead of coming out to the polls, an increasingly big number every year nationally, unfortunately, are probably like, wow, I wonder if I'd have gotten off of the couch, if that would have made a difference. And then the folks who did vote against this are like, not enough of us came out to vote with me. And so I think all of those things are coming together at the same time that Trump and Elon Musk and all of these other sycophants that he's put into his cabinet have started to literally shred the foundation of our democracy. And so all of those things together are making people say, I think And so my platform, campaign's platform is listening, leading, uniting. That's thing that the Trump administration is doing. That's nothing that Rouser's ever done. He got elected in 2014. So he got seated in 2015. He hasn't done an in-district event with constituents since 2017.
What?
Correct. And his people are starting to notice that. And they're just like, where have you been? And so, because I was like, where were you during COVID? And so, like, this guy we're paying his salary at the same time that he's letting Trump cut jobs. We're paying for his health care at the same time that he's bragging about Medicaid getting cut with the big stupid bill.
And I understand that his part of his platform was to roll back the ACA anyway. So he's on brand.
Right. Like, he's not doing anything that he hasn't told folks he would do on his website. But he doesn't tell us in person. He doesn't come and show up for the hard questions. He doesn't give us answers. And now that's the brand of the whole party now, because they're like, don't go do town halls. And those who actually deign to do them are getting yelled at and booed at by their own party. And then what do? They say, oh, those are just crazy leftist liberals and paid actors, because they can't let themselves believe that their own folks are so unhappy with them. But they'll believe it at the ballot box.
Yeah. I listen, we cannot let them just, like Renee says, she says, thank you for running. We can't just let them walk in 2 seats. And that's essentially what we're doing when we act like, oh, it doesn't matter or whatever. We know that every vote counts, because what have we gone through in North Carolina?
Listen.
The Supreme Court Justice seat.
My name was on that list, the Jefferson Griffin list. And I voted for Allison Riggs, and he was trying to get my vote tossed out. Only in his race, though. It was only in his race. My registration was only invalid for his race. But Allison Riggs' own parents were on that list. Like, it was ridiculous. And they are still trying to disenfranchise folks, which is why we're working on the front end this time to make sure that anybody who might have had like a legitimate issue, let's get that resolved on the front end, because we know they're going to try it again. We know they're going to try it again. So, but yeah, this is what you have to do when you know that what you stand for is not in alignment with what people actually need or want. You have to cheat. You have to lie to your base. And this is what you get as a result is people like him, 10 years of just going back and doing nothing that's helping. He's always saying and trying to put forward legislation to defund the U.S. Department of Education. I mean, I was a school social worker. I'm a professor now. Like, I have a kid who was in public school, was getting ready to go to college at a public university, and you can't say let's defund the Department of Education unless you don't care about other people's kids and you somehow have a plan for your own kids that doesn't involve public education. But this is not what people want. And so basically what we're doing is telling everyone what his record is, reminding them that he hasn't shown up, and giving them alternatives to vote for in November.
One of the things that I failed to mention in my open was the fact that you are most definitely a social worker, and I am so social workers, because the thing about social workers is that you guys are empathetic, you are caring, you also know the social and emotional needs of people, that you are servant leaders. And so I feel that if you're going to be in public office, you have to be a servant leader. If you're not, I mean, why are you there?
You're there for yourself.
Yeah.
You're there for the really great health care. You're there for the perks and benefits of being a congressman. Like, I don't need that. I am a tenured professor. I'm not running for Congress because I need a job. I'm running because someone else does. I work for the state of North Carolina. I'm not running because I need health care. I'm running because someone else does. And so, but he is there for himself. And so many of them are. He is not the only one. I believe we're contesting across the state, every congressional seat, even the ones that look on paper impossibly out of reach. We're still giving those folks a good, strong fight, because everybody in North Carolina deserves someone who's actually going to be an advocate. I care about these folks. They're not constituents to me. They're my neighbors. These are the people my son goes to school with and their parents, my students in my class, my friends in the community. Like, I know these folks. I've lived with these people for over a decade. The whole time he's been in DC avoiding them, I've been right here standing beside them. And so now they need someone who is going to go up there and fight for them. And I have a history of that in my life, from my family and my upbringing to my own personal actions on a daily basis. So this is absolutely a part of what social work is. Most people, when they think of social work, think of two things: therapy, child welfare. And yes, we do all of that and then some. But our code of ethics requires us, in my favorite part of the code of ethics, 6.03 and 6.04, it requires us to engage in political activity. That we are supposed to go and fight for those whose lives are on the margins of society due to no fault of their own, because they look different, or they love different, or they pray different, or whatever, or they drew the short end of the economic stick. Like, that's not okay to just leave those folks out there. Meanwhile, on his website, he actually had a statement that said the only people who should be getting Medicaid are the invalids.
Even the word invalid is inappropriate.
Like, that's what I'm right?
Yeah. Listen, Stephen Valentine is our county commissioner in Durham, North Carolina, and he is also a social worker and an attorney. And we need more social workers in political spaces. That's absolutely correct. I think we do get more ironed out if we had that, because of the lens in which social workers function in. The things would be a lot better, because it's public service, public policy, and all of that. And you know what I need from you? Before I forget, I'm going to need for you to tell me or text me those points that you made about the advocacy for social work, because you just gave me an idea.
Okay, can do. It's 6.03 and 6.04 in the NASW Code of Ethics. And it's a mandate that we have that says you have to be involved in political work. I mean, this is, first of all, for anybody who is watching this, every part of your life, every aspect of your life is impacted either by someone who's been elected to a position, whether you elected them or not, or someone appointed to a position by that elected person. Please stop saying, I don't get involved in politics. You don't have to be involved to be infected. Okay?
Thank you.
You don't have to teach. See, now y'all got me worked up. Do not think that your decision not to vote somehow absolves you from the impact of the policies by people who were put in place by those who did not absolve themselves. You have to participate every single thing you do. And so when I teach my policy class for my MSW students, they're like, they kind of look at the policy class as like a bump in the road. Like, I was doing clinical. Why do I have to take policy clinical? Because if you are worried about, if you have clients who are on SNAP or Medicaid or Medicare, you have veterans, you have the elderly, you have all of the policies that are being in place at the national, state, or local level impact your clients and their ability to do their work, work with them. So please know that you have a stake in this, regardless of whether or not you decide to cast that ballot. I just need to say that.
You know what? I think you've got my mind churning, because really, we need to be utilizing all of what you're saying about, and I'm biased. I tell anybody I'm biased, or social workers, but that whole social work aspect, I think that more people would understand, because that is closer to where they live. Especially people who are often more marginalized, they understand what happens when they go to a DSS building. They understand what it means when they have to go through the E-Pass of North Carolina to get their benefits and what have you. They understand what it means when they call the office and they need something. They need crisis services or whatever. They may need to bury a loved one, and they, in anything.
Mm-hmm.
With our DSS, and I would imagine that all in North Carolina, we provide fishing licenses, and and we also, we're a mandated place where people can get their registration to vote. Where they have their registration forms and stuff. So all of those things that you're saying, I think that's it. That hits where they live, and I think what. This is one thing that we have done was to make sure that we had the League of Women's Voters. Yes, you can vote. Is it yes, you can? Yes, you can vote.
I think it is yes, you can vote.
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up.
We have them come into the lobby, and so that they can inform people as they come by to get to register to vote, to do this, to do that, because education is the bigger thing, and access to those things. Dr. Kimberly Hardy, I want to, I know what I was going to ask.
You can vote.
You can vote.
You can vote.
Yeah, they come to us. So I'm curious, how was the voter turnout in your District 7 among minority voters? Do you know how it was?
So I asked for my team to pull some numbers. In 2024, Black turnout across District 7 was 68%. White turnout was 80%. Right. And that was in 2024. That was when we just finished. Right.
68 versus 80.
Correct. And I think there's a few reasons for this. So as you said, I'm second vice chair for the state Democratic Party. So this is my second 2-year term of that. So in my first term in 2023, I did a 30 county tour of rural southeastern, just really eastern North Carolina, specifically targeting counties where Black voter turnout had started to decrease. And so I wanted to know why. And I would spend the entire day in the county on the ground. And I was, in barbershops and beauty salons, at the mall, restaurants, food trucks, bodegas, you name it, I was there. And at the end of the day, I took all my notes to the county party meeting and told them what I had heard, asked them what their thoughts were. We had a whole big conversation about it. And after a while, I was bringing statewide candidates with me because that was one of the things that they were concerned about, was that statewide candidates weren't showing up in their counties. In fact, it was in Pender County that someone in the room said, we feel disrespected because nobody feels like they have to come here to earn our vote. And so I was like, oh, well, I can fix that. And I just started bringing statewide candidates with me if their availability was there, so that they could hear from folks and folks could hear from them and meet them. And so, because it helps when you put a name and a face, and I met this person, I can tell you about this person, I can get my questions answered or whatever. But if you show up 2 weeks before the election, then people start to feel like, as I was told in Craven County one time, these two young brothers were playing basketball. And I said, how come Black folks are not voting here like they used to? He said, we used to vote, but nothing ever changed. So for us, voting's not something we have to do. It's something y'all want us to do. And so and if we don't start paying attention to what folks are saying when they say things like that, then we're never going to get folks to turn out because they feel like they have no stake in it.
Right.
I met a young lady in Nash County, and she actually wound up being on, I was interviewed by NPR. I was followed around one day by NPR, and I met her, and she goes by Storm the Barber. And so she was like, why does it have to be so hard? We voted for Barack, we voted for Biden, we voted for, Clinton, we voted for everybody, and it still just feels so hard. And she said, I have diabetes, and I have not filled my prescription in years because it costs $1,000 a month. She said, I'm not going to make that here. So I control my diabetes with food. So my grandfather was a diabetic, and so I'm very sensitive to that. So I said, okay, well, let me see what I can do about that, because I know that there's something out there. And so Tamara Keith, the journalist who was interviewing me, said, are you really going to be able to find something for her? I said, of course I am, Tamara. I'm a social worker. So of course I'll be able to find something. And sure enough, I went back a few days later without Tamara, and she was not expecting me. And we signed her up for the insulin affordability program that Lily agreed to do, because Biden had it enshrined in law for seniors. But he also asked the drug companies to voluntarily lower the cost of those meds. And so signed her up, and that was it. And so she instantly got excited, and it went from why is it so hard to how can I help? You see what I'm saying? We need to meet needs.
Yes.
Okay. This work is constituent services work. This is what social workers do.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not just out there because I wasn't, when I was doing this tour, there was nothing in it that said one day you might run for Congress. This was, I need to hear these folks' voices so we can see what those gaps are and those needs are, and then let's meet those needs. So I decided I'm going to go back to Nash County. So in town of Rocky Mount, there's a little community called Happy Hill. And so they have Happy Hill Day. Families come out, bring their grills. There's a DJ.
Hill.
Oh, what? Yeah, Happy Hill is great. Happy Hill. So I made these little postcards that said, hey, if you're coming to Happy Hill Day, come see me, because it's a predominantly Black community. So you know diabetes is probably overrepresented. And I put one on every single door in Happy Hill. And I said, if you're coming out, we're giving out free hot dogs and sodas, and we'll sign you up for the insulin affordability program. And I had a blast of people.
Sodas at the diabetes thing.
You said what?
You gotta stop bringing the soda.
I know, right? I should have been bringing water. That's what I should. I'm up there like, we're gonna help move that diabetes along, but then we're gonna sign you up for the insulin, child. But like that was a thing. Like that was a need I found out about, and then I helped meet that immediate need. And then I said, let's do that for the broader community. That is the responsibility of every one of us, but certainly the responsibility of an elected official. Jada Rouser doesn't know what his community needs. How could he? How could he? And so there is nobody better to go and advocate on behalf of the community as a whole, I think, than people whose whole job it is to be an advocate to the community as a whole.
That's right. That's right. There's some things in the chat. Hold on a second. I'm trying, girl, you know what? This is the problem when you are doing, I do this all the time. I do 6 things at the same time. If you
I think I can see this one. Hold on. 3.76 million voters, 30 and under, did not vote across Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Texas. We wonder why we lost finally now. Correct. And if we don't start making that an intentional focus as the party, as candidates, as community members and neighbors, we have to, this is something I started saying when I was doing the tour, is you have more power than you realize, and you have more power than you're using. And so when folks say, well, I voted last time, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but it's got to be right.
Every election.
You got to vote every time. You got to vote every time.
It's the presidential one, too. That's the other big thing.
We're right in the middle of, because we don't have off years in North Carolina. We have odd year elections, right? This is the odd year election. So these municipal elections are critically important. And one of my friends, Ricky Hurtado, who got voted into the state legislature in 2020 as the first Latino member of the General Assembly, which is ridiculous because that was only 2020, and was not reelected the following cycle. He used to say all the time on the campaign trail, the closer your name is to the bottom of the ballot, the closer that person is to your needs and issues and your solutions. And so we got to stop. But the thing is people call the name they know. Right. This is why people actually thought that Donald Trump could do something about the price of groceries. Right. Because they call the name that they know. The name is in their face all the time. But you be in the face of your local elected leaders all the time. Show up for those city council meetings or watch them. Most of them are streamed. Yes. And so while you're watching dinner, making dinner, watch that meeting and figure out like what is happening, and then talk to those people. You have much more accessibility to your city council person, your school board member, your mayor, than you ever will to the president of the United States. And so I really want people to start taking those municipal elections really seriously, because that local leadership is critical.
Absolutely. The dog catcher, the
sheriff
board, the sheriff.
I'm mad about justice reform, and you didn't vote for the sheriff.
Please. Please. And here again, it's the education part.
Right.
It's the
Right.
education part. And that's why I created this show, because I was so frustrated. And I think by working in a department of social services doing communications and hearing what the clients are saying, it just got further embedded in me that, oh my God, we have got to have some kind of easy, free, quick, responsive way that we can communicate to people and get information and what have you. Yes, Stephen, all politics.
Yes.
And he put another thing in here. I don't know if you saw it. Oh, he said this. Make sure to seek the NASW NC's endorsement. And he says to count him as a
So I did get NASW NC's endorsement when I ran for state ledge, and that was the first one I sought and the first one I got, because it matters to me that my colleagues support this effort. And so so I will do that, Stephen. Don't you worry. And thank you so much for being a contributor. And I would actually like to say something about that for a second. So Black women receive smaller amounts of campaign contributions than any other candidate in any race that they're running for. But the fact of it, but see, here's the, listen, you said we educating tonight. I'm letting folks know. Probably everybody watching knows this, but go tell a friend that doesn't, because there are so many times where we lose these races simply because we don't have the money to out paper the mailboxes, to out advertise them, to get our names and stuff out there. And so, and people think, well, if I can't give you $500, I guess it just doesn't matter. And that is not true.
That is not true.
That is not true. And so, $50 monthly contributions, $25 contributions, those help a lot. The big max out donations help a lot. $3,500 for congressional candidates and $6,800, I believe it is now, for state legislators. Like, if you can max out all at once, please do that. If you can't, little contributions every month go a really long way. And so, but people are like, well, what are you doing with that money? I promise you, we never see any of that. That money goes into an account and then right back out the door to pay for staff, to pay for ads, to pay for lunches for the people that volunteer to work at the polls, put gas in folks' car to get from one speaking event to another. Like, it's not giving me money. It is contributing to and investing in my campaign.
Right.
It's wonderful when people were saying, like, on my launch video, there were so many people like, you've got my vote. And I'm like, that's great, but that is 17 months from now. And so if we expect to get there, we're going to need resources. David Rouser has a $1.2 million war chest because he hasn't really campaigned.
And he hasn't done anything. I have not seen, we're going to bring that up in a minute, but let me go to one of these comments. Okay, Donald Clytus, welcome to the show, Donald. I don't ever recall seeing your name before. The Hee Haw Coalition is old and outdated by nothing but 21 Savage and Flipper T. Blacks outnumber white voters by 2.69 million, but they went to all poor rural Southern and sold them. And then I don't know what I got lost there. And he's just saying, Tip O'Neill, you must have said something that made her think of Tip O'Neill.
I don't know what it was. Somebody, Latrice, let us know.
Cooper will win, but he must carry Greenville and Raleigh. Kamala lost both cities in November.
Yeah, so we had the state party had its unity dinner last night, and so along with Illinois Governor Pritzker, I know I did try to get you there, but the media, there were a ton of people trying to get there because they thought, this is the big thing. I know what it is. Somebody said all politics is local.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, but yeah, so, former Governor Cooper was there.
Yes.
We're pretty sure he's going to announce on Monday. But he does need to win this seat. And so we're going to do everything we can, obviously, as a state party to support him. We don't believe that he's going to have a primary. That actually helps us and all candidates who don't have primaries, so that we don't have to fight internally.
Yes.
We can just get out there, start raising money, start getting our name recognition up, start being present in communities, and making sure folks know who we are. But it's really, really important that we do everything we can to get him over the hump, because and every one of these cities is important. Greenville, Raleigh,
Yes.
Fayetteville, Robesonville, like there's a whole bunch of
everybody, Lottie Dottie and everybody's important.
My mama used to say all the time, Lottie Dottie and everybody. Okay, you know what, we are kindred spirits. That's exactly what my mom used to say, Lottie Dottie and everybody. And so, but here's the thing, it's not going to just come down to one group of people didn't go out and go grab this group of people. We all have a responsibility here.
Yes.
We cannot be beholden. And this is coming from somebody who's a party officer. We cannot be beholden to the state Democratic Party, to the national DNC, to go out and get our people. Mm-hmm. We inherited a legacy of internal activism.
Yes.
Right. Our family members got their family members in the neighborhood together, and we did this thing ourselves, and we exercised power because we voted in a collective. Everything we did as a collective. And so, we hear all the time, well, the Democrats' messaging isn't any good. Well, you know what? I hear that. And I welcome all kinds of feedback on what y'all think the messaging should be. But we have to know what it is that somebody's issues are and speak to that. And we have to do it with some fight. We have to do it with some teeth. We can't be afraid to say the things that are real and true. And we can't make people feel like if they don't agree with us 100% of the time, that somehow they're a backsliding Democrat.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm going to say something controversial. It really is okay to be a Democrat who does not necessarily believe, because of religious reasons, in abortion.
Right. Yeah.
You can. And it doesn't make you somehow bad and terrible. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you're inherently toxic and violent. Right? Like, we have to start saying things that are
worker coming out and you explaining
exactly
these social norms and behaviors and stuff. Please. I mean, because we get so stuck on things and we're just stuck on stupid and not really listening.
Right.
And being rational about things. My God.
This is one of the reasons why I don't like hashtag movements. Like, I get it. You want a quick, snappy thing that, boom, we got in, we said that thing. But I was talking to a colleague of mine. We were at the big annual social work meeting that all the faculty members go to. And one of them, she said, I was right out there on the defund the police movement and stuff. And I was so bummed out that we didn't win. I said, yeah, a lot of us lost. And that was the October surprise of that election in 2020. And so she was like, what do you mean? I said, what y'all did not mean was shut down the police department.
But that's the way it came out. And from a PR perspective, I was like, oh my God, that's not what you really mean. So
that's not what you mean. You can't.
It's awful. It really
you can't take big, important, nuanced conversation and reduce it down to a hashtag and 140 characters. These are things that rational adults need to be able to sit down and talk through. It's not going to fit into a tweet. If it does, then it's not your if all your policy can fit in a tweet, you're not doing it right. You've lost the plot. And so you've lost the plot. And so for me, this is about saying, let's have actual honest conversations about how we got where we are on insert name of issue. And let's figure out how we can get to a place that we do as much good as we can for as many people as possible, with the complete understanding that we're never going to get 100% of the people to be happy, but we can make some people happier than they are right now. It is possible. And so for me, this is a no-brainer. Social workers are built for this work. I like to call myself a social work purist because all three of my degrees are in social work. And what I tell people all the time is, your bachelor's degree teaches you how to find information. and your master's degree teaches you how to use information, and your doctoral degree teaches you how to create information. And so I feel like I'm in the space where I'm like, it's time for me to go and create policy, knowing what I know, having done what I've done, having heard what I've heard and seen. So for me, this is who you're getting. This is who I've always been. And I'm kind of it. I'm not in a primary. And so if we want to get rid of David Rouser, I'm your gal. And I'm ready to go do that day one.
Okay. Donald says he has the votes with white, Southern, yellow dog, and blue dog voters. His campaign lacks 26 and under critical blacks, strategic grassroots personnel. He must be talking about Cooper. Is that who you're talking about, Donald?
I think Donald, tell us.
I bet it is.
I think he is talking about Cooper.
He talked about Cooper up above that. He said Cooper will win, but he must carry Greenville. And I think that was a continuation of his thought. Oh, and he said yes. He said yes.
Well, the fact of the matter is Cooper has never lost a race. And that is like every time he runs, he wins. And so let's keep that streak alive.
Okay.
And let's remember, he was the governor that it finally got Medicaid expanded, that put 650,000 North Carolinians into healthcare. And so we got to remember that he has done things. He has a track record that people have obviously believed in statewide before, because he spent 16 years as Attorney General, 8 years as the governor. He was in the House before that. I really feel like Ray Cooper has his thumb on the pulse of what North Carolinians need. And I think he actually also pulls from both sides of the aisle, but the independent or unaffiliated voter is the biggest voting bloc in the state. And I think that is where we have to make sure we spend a lot of time too. We cannot just keep thinking that, these folks who have taken this principled stance to say, I'm done with partisan talking points, I just want to talk about the issues. We have to speak to what their issues are as well. And if you really think about it, not one issue that we're talking about is truly partisan. Healthcare, schools,
exactly.
SNAP benefits,
food.
When food becomes partisan, that's the title of my book. I'm gonna write a book. When food became partisan, because that is one of the things that you heard people saying. They were like, oh my God, he's going to lower the cost of groceries. That was never anything that he had the capacity to do, and then got in there and demonstrated that he also didn't have the willingness to try. And everything went up, and then he did his little silly tariffs. And it is, like you said before, a voter education issue. Because, and I don't like when we say, and I know you're not saying it this way. I'm certainly also not saying it this way, but I don't like when people write off that people should know. It's your civic responsibility to know. People are busy trying to live life.
People are trying to survive. Most people are in survival mode, especially now. So so when they hear about politics and stuff, a lot of them are just frustrated. Why do we have to talk about this? Why do we have to do it? Because your life and how you're feeling has been impacted by somebody creating policy that you may or may not have voted for.
Right.
You have to be aware of that. Get that through your head. Your ability to live the way you'd like to live is greatly impacted on who you decide to vote into office, especially locally.
Exactly. Including those things that you never think about. For example, last cycle, Braxton Winston was running to be your commissioner of labor. And Braxton, he says all the time, I'm a clock in, clock out guy. I work just like everybody else works. And yet he got himself all around this state championing the labor. And he said, it is not just the face on the elevator.
Yeah.
Right. And he liked to tell us, remember when they did that video at Carowinds and the roller coaster was broken, but it was still running with people on it?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Every one of the carnivals that come to your parking lot at the mall, Carowinds and theme parks, all of that. All of those things need to be inspected by people from labor. And there is a huge shortage of those people in the labor department.
And why do we have the shortage?
Who knows? Probably because of whoever was in there before. Who knows? Because they didn't allocate funding. Because any number of reasons why. He was great at explaining the reasons why, but I listened to all of them, and so I'm not going to remember everybody's individual stump. but he definitely talked about we need to have that there. This is also, though, about making sure that workers stay safe. It is blazing hot outside.
Right.
Yet there are still people working. We need to make sure they have access to cooling spaces and time off, paid breaks, that they have access to water, things like that. Like, we can't just be running these people to death in the heat. Like, this is we have cooling stations now for homeless folks and older folks and stuff like that. Fans are not going to do it. Like, this is protecting workers' safety.
Right.
Elevators inspected, all that kind of stuff. So every single thing about your life really is impacted by an elected person. And we don't expect everybody to know what every office does. But when these people show up, when they come around, and if they don't, take note of that too, but when they come around, go to them. Go to the town hall meeting and ask a question and say, and ask them what it is and hold them.
David Rouser, your competitor, won't have a town hall.
He won't.
Yeah.
He won't. And that's fine. Come ask me. I'll tell you. I'll tell you, right? And that's ridiculous. But we went from, and be clear also, North Carolina is not a red state.
No, it's not.
On our worst day, we're purple.
Yes.
We went from having a 7-7 split in Congress of Republicans and Democrats, which probably best represented what we really are demographically, to 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats, simply because they chose to gerrymander those districts to drown out the voices of the people. Like, that is pathetic when that is what you do it, and you do it in the light of day. And you do it with the full intention of watering down other people's votes or demoralizing them to go, why do we bother to vote anyway? So that you just win by default. Right. Bowser's not going to be able to win by default this cycle. He's going to have to fight me.
That's right. That's right.
Good luck to him.
Good luck.
Right.
See you later. Bye, dude.
That's exactly
what I was to say. Okay. What Donald's saying, the barbarians are coming, the Republicans are fierce with the Cooper and Tillis dropout race. We better wake up. Okay.
I don't know who the barbarians are, Donald. We got to get Donald on here as a guest because I want to hear Donald in real time.
Yeah, what is Donald talking about?
I don't even know who the barbarians are, Donald.
Okay, listen, I wanted to show people who your competitor is, and I wanted to show the map of your area that you're representing. So let me share the screen. And okay, you see it?
Yes.
Our district. Okay, let me show you. This is David Rouser, so you guys see the face. You might recognize him. He stays under the radar purposely.
Yes, he does.
He stays under the radar. And here is the map of the 7th district. And these red dots are his offices. So this one is the New Hanover County office, Brunswick County office. So he has 4 offices, Robeson County, and that's Cumberland County.
It's the first time hearing of a Cumberland County office.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well,
he's never at any of them, so it doesn't even matter.
Well, this is the map, and I would imagine it's been a bit gerrymandered.
Yes.
It has.
Yeah, of course it has. None of his prior, we're given to understand that none of his prior spaces, or at least most of them, are not even in there anymore. Like they redid the whole thing, and they do it because this is the only way they know how to win. So it's 8 counties in total. And so, when you see the logo for my campaign, it has 8 stars, and it's to reflect each of the 8 counties because all of them are equally important. And so it's most of Cumberland, where I live, and parts of both Robeson and Sampson, and then all of Bladen, Columbus, Pender, Brunswick, and New Hanover. And so that's a lot of space to cover with a lot of different demographics. Each of those counties has so many different types of need, but I know it because I've been over all of those places and I've talked to all of those people. I've knocked doors in those spaces. So I know what those different spaces are in need in ways that I doubt David Rouser does. But when you think about it, so we talk about, there's a bit of Robeson. And so we have to talk about them in the context also of the indigenous community and their turnout. And so I asked my folks earlier to get me some notes, so I'm looking over there right quick. The Native American turnout was between 65% in 2024 and 34% in 2022.
Okay, so they really went up.
Yeah, but that's still, like, I'm not gonna be happy until I get that number up even more.
You know what? We gotta applaud them. They went up.
Me too.
Horribly.
Yes, that is bravo.
You know, so we got to do the good. We got to give them their stars. You know,
That's right. Give them their flowers.
You did a good job, but we're gonna do even better now.
And we're gonna do even better. But it's definitely trending in the right direction. Latino voting was 55% in the district in 2024. But it has also gone up because it was 21% in 2022. So everybody's coming out more. We need them to come out more this too, because one of the biggest challenges that happens for candidates writ large in midterm elections is that it's a midterm election.
Yeah.
People they kind of lose it, you know, they're like, what is this? What's going on? I thought we just voted for the president. And you're like, yeah, this is something totally different. And so we have two very, very big top of ticket seats for North Carolina this cycle. One is obviously the Senate seat with Cooper, but the other is Justice Anita Earls, keeping her on the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And so that is critical because
critical. The courts are critical. If we haven't learned anything during these past 6 months, we know that the courts are everything.
Exactly. The courts are, so for example, Toby Hempson, somebody's going to kill me because I'm messing his name up, but he was one of the appeals judges that was in the Riggs case that we were able to keep our registrations for that race. So it mattered that the courts were there. When the Supreme Court had a Democratic majority, or at least more Dems, they voted that, yes, the Leandro case needs to be settled now, and this money needs to go to these counties to give an equitable education to all of these children. And this is a 3-decade-old lawsuit, I believe it is now. And then as soon as they got the majority, they said, wait, we want to revisit that case. And they have not still done a new ruling. And so that money is still not dispersed to those counties. So the judges matter. And we think, oh, well, I'll never go to the Supreme Court. Well, I hope not. I hope you never have to fight for your freedom or your justice in the Supreme Court. But if it's there, I want people who are going to make decisions based on the law. And as all the judges say, without fear or favor. Yes. And so you want somebody to have that. But your appellate court, Carolyn Thompson was fighting to keep her seat on the appellate court. And she said the two most important words you will ever say in a courtroom is "I appeal." Right. And so we have to make sure we have appeals judges on the bench who are willing to listen to you. And you know that when you walk into that courtroom, you don't have a predetermined outcome that is against you for some reason. Like it matters that the courts uphold the rule of law. The U.S. Supreme Court is not doing a really great job of that right now, unfortunately, but it was built that way here in these last few cycles. And so we need to make sure that our courts at the state level are robust and that there are judges there who are actually going to make rules based on the law. Rulings should reflect the law, not your partisan ideology.
Right.
Whichever side you're on.
Renee Shaw asks, how is your ground game looking right now? And where can people sign up to volunteer?
Oh, this is great. I love this. I'm going to go in reverse order. So you can volunteer, learn more about me, make a contribution, all of those things at KimberlyHardyForCongress.com.
I'm putting it in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
For
the word for it. Yep. .com. Yes. And in terms of ground game, so one of the things that we're doing, and it's starting on August 3rd, is I'm having a launch event in all 8 counties. So every single day, from the 3rd through, we're going to have a launch event in each of the counties, because I don't want to just launch in Cumberland because this is where I'm from, or New Hanover because that's where he lives. All of these counties matter. And so I'm going to show up in all of these counties, and there are meet and greets so you can come and meet me. But we're also doing a school supply drive with all of them to give school supplies to a school in that county that needs those resources, because not everybody can afford to send their kids back with fresh everything. And so we want to make sure we do something to help with that. So, so that's, and when we're in these different spaces, we're also going to be signing up volunteers in each of the counties. We want to have a county captain in each of the 8 counties who is on the ground, someone who lives there, who knows the community, who can alert us to things that we might not hear about, either as a candidate or as second vice chair, so that we can come in and say, hey, what can we do to help with some of this? I do that work all the time as second vice, and I'll continue doing that as a candidate and as your congresswoman. So let us know what's happening there. And that's the people that will create our volunteer teams for canvassing and phone banking and things like that under the direction of our campaign manager. So so our ground game is going to start picking up here in the next couple of weeks. And so if you want to volunteer, we would love that, love that, love that. Go to the website and there's a form on there where you can sign up.
Okay. Now I have to tell you that Renee is from New York. She is in New York. And so people are from all over that are participating in the chat and what have you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But, and Renee and anyone who's from outside of the state or the district, there's still things you can do.
Right.
What kind of candidate would I be if I didn't say it? You can always make a contribution to the campaign. But we do phone banks. You can do those. If we're postcard writing, you can do those. Like there are still, you can elevate the items that we put on social media on your social media account. So there are ways that you can get involved in a campaign, no matter where it is and where you are.
Right. I had contacted, he's my fraternity brother, and he is, he's in the House of Representatives in the state of Michigan, and he's running for Congress now in the state of Michigan. So I tried to reach out to him because he says he wants to come back on the show. I said, oh, this will be neat to have the two of you together. I've had him on the show before with Senator Natalie Murdoch.
Yes.
She's
love her.
Couldn't get it out. And they had a good conversation, and it was so neat for them to meet this way. And so they were going to end up at a conference together, you know, with the state legislators and stuff. So they met each other and stuff, because I think it's so important. You know what? Like I put on other pages to promote the show, it does not matter where you live. We have to think of this thing. Yes, we want our, you know, this is about North Carolina, and we want people from North Carolina to know, but we need to be knowledgeable about as much as possible, because you get ideas for other places. You can see things that are happening in certain places, and you can be alert to it happening maybe where you're living or whatever. Knowledge is power, period.
It really is. And I mean, those relationships, like COVID, you know, I tell folks all the time, COVID, there was nothing good about it. But if we were able to cull something from that experience when we were running for office in 2020, is that a bunch of us who were running for office, especially for the General Assembly here in North Carolina, ended up on the same Zooms together. We would never have had those connections if we weren't doing it on Zoom, because we would have been running in our own districts, in our own silos across the state. And so now, even though so many of us did not win in 2020, we have maintained those relationships. We know each other from across the state now. And then when we're on, Zooms with folks from other states, like the battleground states and stuff, now we have colleagues in those spaces, and we have been able to stay connected to them. So, for example, Dr. Amy Steele is a very dear friend of mine. She ran for the state legislature twice, and the second time was in 2020. And when she didn't win, she was like, I feel like I'm supposed to do something else that's going to affect North Carolina politics. And so she went down to Georgia, studied up on the new Georgia project, and then came back here and started the new North Carolina project. And it has been amazing. And so I am on the board of the C4 side of it, because I was like, anything you ask me to do, I'm going to do it, because you're phenomenal. And so, so she's found a way to help out. And then Cynthia Wallace, she ran for Congress back in 2020 and she wasn't elected either. But she decided that when she was running, one of the biggest challenges was engaging with people in rural spaces. So she and Helen Probst Mills created the New Rural Project here in North Carolina. And so and they've, collaborated with colleagues across the state and across the country because we all met in these various Zoom umbrellas during COVID. And that's not what we would have been had we not been forced to run a campaign on the internet. So there was some good that came out of that. And so if there's ways to connect with folks who are running for office or who are already in office in other states, particularly in states like Texas and Florida, Michigan and Pennsylvania, the big battleground states, if you will, so that we can work together and support each other. And then when we all get to Congress, we already have a coalition where we can hit the ground running.
Right. Renee asked, who is your campaign manager?
Oh, her name is Olivia Retschel, and she's going to be stationed, if you will, in Wilmington when she gets here. She is finishing up. She was the campaign manager for a school board race in Massachusetts, and her candidate won. And so she's from North Carolina, and so she's just finishing up there to come down here. But she's already boots on the ground for the campaign, and she has been doing great. And I would be remiss if I didn't also give a shout out to my comms director, Rob Tabor. Rob, I tell people I trust him with my voice more than I trust myself. He is so good, and he is Johnny on the spot when I need something. So between the three of us as the core day-to-day operations folks, along with our compliance firm and our fundraising folks, we're gonna take it to Rouser this year. Oh, I can't wait. I can't
wait either. And Renee, make calls, make contributions, postcards. Yes, I will definitely share on social media. Pam knows I always push my tribe and people. Yes.
Thank you.
She's in New York, and Renee is phenomenal. Renee has adult kids, and yet she has triplet 7-year-olds. Okay.
Ooh.
And she's and she's a politico, and she's
nice.
Won before with the triplets and everything when she was in Texas. She's a phenom, so she's a fierce woman.
I love that. Thank you, Renee, for all that you have done and keep doing. Triplets? I have 3 dogs. Well, there's Max. So I have 3 dogs. That's as close as I come to triplets. And I have my son and Ryan, who I call my second son, because he's over here eating up as much of my food as my biological son. So, but triplets with adult kids,
7-year-old triplets. Okay, in New York. I don't know how she does it.
I don't know how she does it.
I don't know. And
she's napping right now.
She also asked, "Are you a part of the League of Women Voters?" They do an endorsement process, of course.
Yes, we are going to be seeking a lot of endorsements. I'm really proud to say that when I ran for state ledge back in 2020, I probably got about 30 some odd organizational and individual endorsements. The day I got an endorsement from Barack Obama, I was floating. You couldn't Eric Holder. I was like, what is this? Abrams. I'm like, what is happening right now? And so,
it's phenomenal.
I know, that's pretty amazing. And I hope all of them come back around this way again, right? Because that would be so fantastic. And I'm going to go after, Higher Heights and the Collective PAC. I got those before. I hope to get them again.
Vice president of Higher Heights.
Say again?
She's a VP of Higher Heights.
Who is Renee? The one that was just there?
Her name is April Turner.
Oh, wait a minute. I've seen that name. So yes, see?
2 L's.
I think I've seen that name on the website or somewhere, maybe on a Win with Black Women call or something. Probably. But we're going after all of those. Planned Parenthood. We got theirs last time. We're going to go, in NCLCV, which is North Carolina League of Conservation Voters, and the Sierra Club. We got both of those last time because environmental issues are huge for this district. Huge for this district.
Was on the Environmental Justice Board.
Yeah,
boy.
Mm-hmm. We need somebody focusing on environment for this district in particular. Where I live, so in Cumberland County, the Keymores plant is right down the street. right down the street, and they are the ones who have the PFAS chemicals, the forever chemicals that has ruined well water for people in places like Gray's Creek, for example, where folks are still drinking bottled water all these years later. And we've tried to get them, the state legislature has tried to get Chemours to give whole home filtration systems, because we are concerned about things like prolonged dermal exposure. Taking a shower and washing your hair in poisoned water, like, we don't know what the long-term effect of that is going to be. And then Rouser is a big fan of drill, baby drill, so he wants oil rigs off the coast of Wilmington. But there are multiple beaches in Wilmington, and they are a huge tourist draw for us, which is an economic issue. But we also have, an environmental issue to concern ourselves with, because this is people's money, fishermen, right? They need those waters to be clean. The environment, we should care about anyway. My son is getting ready to become a biology major at Morgan State, following in mommy's footsteps with his my alma mater. And he wants to do marine biology. And so it matters. There's this wonderful aquarium in Fort Fisher where you can go and see the work that they do around, turtle rescue and things like that. Like, it's amazing. There's so much that we have to consider around our environment. And when you've got somebody like Rouser in there that is not doing anything about that, is actually working against that, that's somebody, and you live in Wilmington, how could you not see the possible disaster of that?
The lights, nobody is at home.
Nobody is at home.
At home, please. It's so ridiculous. I learned so much about environmental justice and what have you from my daughter, because she went to serve the Katrina victims after Katrina, and that changed the whole trajectory of her career. And she's a professor, and she teaches on Black towns and all the environmental hazards, and has been on the board of the head of the board of the Environmental Justice Board and what have you here in North Carolina, and a lot of things. So all of that stuff I didn't know about until she taught us. She taught our about all of those things, and it's just crazy.
Right. I mean, environment is, Jeff Jackson, our Attorney General, we're having a fundraiser on August 23rd up in Raleigh, and he's agreed to be our guest speaker, and State Representative Renee Price is the host of it. It's going to be really, really nice. I'll make sure to give you the link to that, so you can share it out. Please, 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 everybody come. It'll be wonderful. But he just got finished the other day being in Hillsborough, because there's this water pumping station that is, losing funding. It's not working.
Because Chantel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so, and he was out there and he said, there's nothing woke about this pumping station.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in a place that floods, And so we have to be mindful of the fact that the environment means a whole lot of different things.
Yes.
You talk about like Black spaces. There's environmental hazards that are disproportionately impacting Black and brown and low income communities, because they'll put stuff like dumps there, or they'll put like there's all sorts of environmental injustices, like those big towers and things like that. Like, there's so much more to it, but he's not doing anything to attend to any of those issues that we're having here. And so, why do people want to vote for me? Because I'm better than that. Because I know what that means, and I think we deserve better, and we can have better. But I want everybody to hear this too. The things we don't have do not reflect a lack of anything other than will. We have the money. We have a rainy day fund. We have the capacity to do things. We have the capacity to do it all. But yet they would rather take stuff away from us and then give it to make it impossible to afford tax breaks for because somebody had said recently that we're focused on the wrong 1%, right? We need to be focused on the 1% of people in this country who are billionaires, who are getting all of this wealth. This is the largest transfer of wealth we have ever seen in this country. And that means the people at the middle and the bottom, and increasingly there is no middle, it's just all bottom, are funding the futures of the kids at the top. I'm just a regular person. I am a regular person. There is nothing special about me. I want to be a regular person fighting for regular people. Right. So when I am fighting for, folks to have health insurance, that's the same fight that's for me. My father is a senior. I want his Medicare to be okay. And he is a veteran. I want him to be okay. I want my son to be okay. Like, this is, everything is at stake. And I feel like 2026 is the moment that we have to grasp to try to change the trajectory of this fight, that movement toward fascism that we're on. Because if we don't, I worry about 28. I really do.
Right. Absolutely. Well, listen, we are, I'm going to read this last comment from Donald. He says, you must get the underground assets team in place. You decide who is going to go pick up the 12 million in DC for 2 high profile fundraisers at the CBC.
I would love to know who is going to go get the 12 million. That would be great. That would be great. I would like to talk more to all of them. So if they want to email me, let's do that. Kimberly at KimberlyHardyForCongress.com, because I want to hear from all of y'all to flesh out a little bit more of what he was saying. So
okay, let me put that in there. It's Kimberly at
KimberlyHardyForCongress.com.
See, I put the wrong at Kimberly Hardy for Congress.com. Okay, you guys can email her there. And I'll put it on the screen. That's where you can email her and ask her some additional questions. And her website is KimberlyHardyForCongress.com. You can make contributions and all that good groovy stuff. Okay. And he said done. Okay.
All right. I love it.
All right. Well, listen, Dr. Kimberly Hardy, I have enjoyed you so much. And listen, would you be so kind as to refer some other people to come on the show?
Yes.
Listen, because I work, I do contract, I do too much, really. But
you're a Black woman in America, then? Right.
Yeah, doing too much. And I tell you, between trying to produce the show and hunt down guests, and it's hard. And so if I can get more referrals, that would help me so much, because it won't be so hard to do. And sometimes people freak out. Oh, well, she doesn't have thousands of followers. That's why I have the show streamed on Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. YouTube is a beast to grow. It really is. I'll tell you the story off topic, but off set. But it's so you get a lot more views on my Facebook page, because that's where I have the largest amount of followers and friends. And then, guys, if you would share this video, and if I'd have a person, hopefully my daughter will help me to chop up my video so I can do YouTube shorts. That makes sense too. But girl, ask me, do I have time? No,
you do not. But I appreciate that you are willing to do this, though. Like, you're platforming folks that, who have a voice. I did my research on you too. And I was like, who is she talking to? And you talked to some great folks about great topics and things that the community needs to hear. And when people are starting to feel like legacy media is no longer unbiased, it is no longer a source of information, they feel like they got to watch that plus something else, because I don't quite know if what y'all is saying is right. You're that something else for so many people. And so audiences grow over time. And so yours is going to grow over time. And I am grateful to be a part of it when you're still little enough to care about little old me. I
will always care about
even more.
I like that. And and listen, you want the audience to grow and stuff, but you want to be able to my first and foremost mission is to educate, period. Please, y'all, we got to do better. We have to do better. We must do better. And so much. You are so kind. You're very kind. I appreciate you. I don't recall seeing your name before, but that doesn't mean anything. It's no telling. You might have been on a show or whatever. That's the one thing I love to have, all the interaction, because
Yes.
I don't know who's on there.
Mm-hmm. I like the interactive comments because it means that, folks, they're not just sitting there like, I wonder what she would have said about this. I like that you let people join the conversation. That is very uncommon in podcasts.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's because that I don't want to sit up here talking just to myself. And I know, having been involved in education and so many things, I know that people learn when you can exchange from one another. That's how we learn and grow and do better. Really, right?
Yes, I completely agree.
Interfacing with people, you get to learn and do better. And see, Renee is in New York. She's gonna talk about you, and she's in New York, Carolina. So I don't know where some other people from Michigan, whatever. But like I told them,
now I ain't happy about that Michigan piece now.
Listen, I went to the University of Michigan, and you notice I didn't say not one bad thing.
I couldn't let us go without bringing up the fact that we, Ohio State University Buckeyes, are back on top in the football world where we should always be.
Listen,
your current reigning national champion. Oh, she done went to go get some. She getting props. That's not fair. Oh, no.
You should not have said that, okay?
I don't have a prop near me right now.
You know what? I knew. Listen,
prop. That little school up north. That's who y'all are to us. That little school, Oklahoma. Listen, the rivalry is strong, y'all. I love it. I absolutely love it.
But listen, I have enjoyed you so much, and we're gonna keep. We got a long stretch, so we got to get some of you and some of our other people on here and see how things are going, and pump you up and encourage you. All that good stuff. Okay.
I appreciate you, sis. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care now. Bye, everybody.